Hey, how's it going? Hope all is fantastic. I'm doing great. Hope you are as well. To give you some more nightmares is space junk. Space junk, you ask? Well, it's like McDonald's in outer space. A lot of junk, but deliciousness, to say the matter of the fact. Actually, 1 centimeter fragment can destroy a satellite, unfortunately. So goodbye Netflix. But since the early 1980s, the US Air Force has maintained a dedicated team that logs and tracks as much space debris as possible. Good job. Over 20,000 individual items, at least the size of a small ball, are being tracked, as well as about 500,000 marble-sized pieces of debris, and that number looks like it's increasing as well. Each of these items is traveling around the Earth at around 28,000 kilometers per hour, or 17,500 miles per hour, which is the time it takes me to go to the bathroom. Should any of them strike another item, be it more space debris, a live satellite, or even the International Space Station, consequences would be tragic. Even a single speck of paint, which is too small to track, hurtling around the planet can cause considerable damage to a spacecraft or kill an astronaut during a spacewalk. I for sure would not want that on my obituary of being killed by a speck of paint. According to what color it is, that may help. One way to deal with the space junk is to send it back to Earth, burning it up in the atmosphere during re-entry. How exactly this will be put into practice is not yet fully agreed upon, but is accepted as a very viable option for cleaning up some of the debris field currently in orbit. It is noted that when E1190F, no, it's not a Terminator number, it's the log number of a particular piece of debris, was predicted to land in the Indian Ocean, after once being in an orbit as far out as the moon. That is possible to monitor and predict an object's movements. The landing of the WT1190F also allowed researchers to observe the effects of space debris, re-entering the atmosphere, as well as to test the emergency plans for any gigantic piece of space junk suddenly heading our way. Which actually I looked up into an article that one of the Apollo missions, big object from the mission itself, came around Earth itself. So if that came into contact with any of our satellites and so forth in our atmosphere, that'd be tremendously horrible. Anyway, bearing in mind that even a modest change of position takes days to complete, the International Space Station, or ISS, has to be moved 3 times in 2014 in order to avoid a potential catastrophe and deadly collision. What's more, 2014 was not a particularly unusual year in terms of avoiding such collisions. Debris is constantly monitored from Earth and aboard the ISS, with changes in orbit occurring relatively regularly. There are times, however, when debris is noticed too late for the ISS to be moved in time. In these tense situations, all astronauts have to make their way to emergency shelter areas and sit out the impact. I'm sure that would be a great movie, such as Gravity, with Sandra Bullock. Should a satellite be hit by a piece of space debris, it'd either be severely damaged or completely destroyed. Should that happen to even just a few major satellites, then life here on Earth would be drastically affected. Live television broadcasts, such as football or whatnot, the internet, GPS, and your mobile phone could be affected. So goodbye TikTok and Instagram users, or even YouTube as well. I would say bye right now, but we're okay. As cosmetic as those changes may be, there is also the very real and grim possibility that such destruction of satellites could lead to conflicts between nations. In an already suspicious world, an innocent accident like a satellite being struck by space debris could be mistaken for an attack on a country's defense capabilities, which in turn may cause relatively horrendous actions. Such predictions bear grim similarities to the days of Cold War, when there was a lot of nuclear war attack and nuclear war talk as well. Good thing they didn't have TikTok during that time frame. The European Space Agency is hoping to deploy a piece of technology that would make life for astronauts a little less dangerous in terms of having operate in space debris. A remote-controlled robot called Justin, of course, not Justin Bieber, but Justin, would perform spacewalks in a place of live astronauts, removing the possibility of humans being struck by debris. Takes out of all the fun of all the matter. The robot astronaut would be controlled from the ESA's Columbus laboratory aboard the International Space Station by an operative wearing an exoskeleton glove. Electronic sensors then reproduce the sensation of touch, so the operator would feel as though he is touching what Justin is. That's quite scary to touch if Justin was hit by flying paint. It is said that cube or box satellites, aka CubeSats, can also be thrown into orbit, or also known as easy to take on routine supply missions to the International Space Station as a piece of luggage. Good thing it's not Spirit, because that would cost about extra $50. They're also, however, uncontrollable. As soon as one is put into orbit, thrown or otherwise, it is essentially become a piece of space debris that is just as likely to crash into something as a piece of spent rocket booster. The uncontrollable nature of CubeSats isn't just an unfortunate byproduct. It is estimated that 1/5 of all CubeSats actually violate international orbit disposal guidelines and therefore shouldn't have been launched in the first place. Good job, NASA or whoever is sending this out. While there have been no known collisions involving CubeSats, the rate at which they have been put into orbit is their current form rapidly increases the likelihood of happening in the near future. Horrible to say the least. Although there have been very few collisions with active satellites or spacecraft, even space debris hitting other space things in the outer space of space can have a severe impact. It is said that each collision of space junk increases the problem 100-fold, as the impact turns two previously tracked pieces of debris into hundreds of new pieces that have been re-identified and tracked. And the smaller the pieces are, the more difficult or impossible they are to locate. Of course, it's like a puzzle. It's like Where's Waldo in outer space. This is essentially the main problem for those looking to combat the problem of space junk that's out there. Orbiting debris is not under any form of control, unfortunately. While you can move a shuttle or satellite out of the way, you can't do the same for a piece of debris out to be impacted by one another. Each day I enjoy living on Earth more and more. Although the Space Fence program wouldn't be able to reduce the amount of space debris in orbit, it'll be able to assist the US Air Force in better tracking what it is already out there. The Space Fence is a digital radar system that extends a virtual fence around the planet, and will have the ability to log debris as small as 10 centimeters, or 4 inches if you're counting, using optical sensors and a much higher wavelength frequency than is currently used. The ability to track much smaller objects, in addition to the larger ones, will leave scientists much better able to predict the movements of such objects in the future, as well as to direct astronauts and satellites out of harm's way with more notice. Fantastic. It's a smaller step in the right direction, no doubt, but it's very much stepping stone to where we need to be before the problem is under control. Good job, NASA. There are countless ideas and theories on how to best combat space debris. Let me know down in the comments below of what you think would be the best option out there. I think a shark vacuum cleaner out in outer space would be fantastic. Ranging from very plausible to more adventurous ideas. The one that connects them most, however, is that whatever action is decided upon, the financial cost would be huge. This only places more pressure on the situation, given that a mistake could not only not erectile the effort, but also would be more massive waste of public money. So either hand in hand, it would be difficult to consider the situation. Speaking of that vast array of ideas to solve the problem, one particular proposed method is to harpoon larger pieces of space junk and then drag them to a desired location. Another way to deploy a huge space net that would gather space debris and then place it on a course that would send it to outer space, or back to Earth to burn up into the atmosphere. There have also been various suggestions of using lasers to nudge objects off course and out of orbit as well. Many private companies have also stepped into the bounds of cosmic plate with suggestions on how to combat the problem. Of course they have. Which is a welcome relief, as private companies would bring more private money. Oh, you need to make it rain. They'd have the whole world as a stage upon which to show off and then rightly or wrongly profit from their groundbreaking technology. Hopefully save the Earth as well. So good job. If no way is found to stem from an ever-growing amount of dead or man-made items floating around our planet, no matter how horrendous it is or catastrophic, then it is predicted that only a few hundred years we will essentially be trapped on Earth, which space missions be impossible to launch due to the amount of collisions and loss of life. There is also a known effect that an increased amount of space debris might have an Earth or future life on the planet. Might there be the real possibility of a large piece of space junk re-entering the atmosphere and not burning up, becoming a meteor hurtling toward the ground? Maybe all that debris would cause atmospheres or asteroids to bounce off the Earth's atmosphere. Who knows? The amount of gadgets or even life-saving devices utilized by many people on Earth today as byproduct of space exploration is vast. Should we ever stop pushing to explore space simply because it is no longer a possibility, how many future developments might humanity miss out on? That is a great question. Thank you for watching. What do you think of space junk? Would you want to put your junk out into space? What's your idea of clearing out all the space junk itself? I think lasers are cool, quite fun. It's like Space Invaders, but with trash. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great one. Bye.